as women, we always feel we have to I feel, and from my research, we kind of overcompensate, and our socialization from when we were young, especially if we've had brothers, all feeds into imposter syndrome, never really being enough. And, we need to do more. And it was incredibly interesting.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Welcome to today's episode. We have with us today on When You Choose You podcast, FIONA LEVIE. Welcome, Fiona.
Thank you.
I met Fiona in March 2023 when I attended International Women's Day event, and Fiona was the speaker for local enterprise. And I remember her lecture, if I can say lecture, and I remember her being a warrior. And I wanted to get to know her. And Ireland being Ireland, when I got home, I realized that my partner knows Fiona and all that. So I was fascinated by your personal story, and I hope I'm going to make you comfortable enough to share a bit of it. And also, I am fascinated about your current extraordinary career, I would say. And I know you are mom of 4.
Yep, that's it.
And you are combining the mom's full job and personal development and career. So again, welcome to the show, and tell us, where are you at the moment with all your extraordinary things what you are doing?
Okay, so I guess just to introduce myself, really, I'm a lone parent, I like to call it a sole parent, because I am the only parent of 4 kids. The eldest is 25, and the youngest is about to be 18. So they're almost flying the nest now. I've just got 1.5 left, because my third, my son, is in college going into his 2nd year. So I'm at the stage now where it's almost like I'm at a crossroads in my life and in my career. So a lot of people might resonate with my story as well, because they might have similar ones. I know I'm not unique, but I became a sole parent in 2010, and my youngest was 4. And we had been living in Spain for the previous 6 years, and I had, previous to that, been working in family business. It was a tourism business on the Shannon. We had cruisers that we were hiring on the Shannon, fleet of 30 odd, but it was a family business, and the glass ceiling could only go so far. And I helped turn that business around when we did a management buyout. It was the poorest performer in the sector on the whole Shannon, and within 18 months it became the best performer. And so for 5 years we developed it, and at one point we were turning business away. It was going so well. And so we had got, myself and my husband had got an invitation to come and help take over a yacht brokerage in Spain. He was kind of at a crossroads. I felt that I'd brought the company as far as I could take it, and I didn't want to become stagnant either. And, it was a tough decision, but it was an exciting one. And I kind of usually take an opportunity with both hands. So off we went to Spain with 2 tiny children and a small baby that was only 4 months old.
4 months.
4 months old, yeah. 2, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-month or 2.5-year-old. So that was really exciting. But unfortunately, for various different reasons, and this is another reason why I suppose I'm an advocate for well-being and mental health. I ended up coming back 6 years later on my own with 4 kids. I won't really go into that, but suffice to say, we don't know where my husband and their dad is at the moment. And so that's, there's a big long story behind that, and it's not nice to think about. But my kids have done enormously well, and my eldest is now a medical scientist in St James's in Dublin, and they're all doing really well. So even though I'm a sole parent, my family life is going really well. But I came
Well
back.
done.
Oh, thank
Like,
you.
yeah, that's big.
It
Yeah.
took work,
So,
it took work. And my mum is my dad actually passed away the year that we came back. So that was
even tougher.
my pretty bad year. Yeah, I won't forget that year in a hurry. But I kind of hit the ground running when I came back. We literally had just our bags for, we went over. I had money in the bank. I came back with nothing. So there,
I know the feeling.
I won't go into that story, but I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah.
And so can a lot of other people. And I decided that I had done really well previous to that in my career. I had managed the market for Italy for a big multinational. I was based out in Milan in the 90s, really loving all of that. That was fantastic. And I was 8 years with that company, and I loved it. But when my family had this opportunity to do management buyout, I kind of decided, I need to help them to do that. And that was wonderful as well. But I hadn't got a college degree because I left school at 16. I did my leaving in 1985. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went au pairing in Italy for 3 years, and that actually stood to me because I was only 17 when I went away on my own for 3 years, and I'm still actually friends with the family that I stayed with, and so that language, building up that language, stood to me. And that's partly why I did so well in Italy in the 90s. But I did have a chip on my shoulder. I hadn't got a degree. So when I came back, I found that the system worked for me. It helped me to get myself back on my feet. So I went to UL. I got an arts degree in sociology, new media, cultural studies, Spanish and English. And then I got a master's in project management, and then I went out on my own, and I got asked by somebody to join them in a startup, which actually got me really excited. But in a way, I should have run the other way because I had been into, I got into trouble before by following people into project after project. And that's partly why I came back from Spain with nothing. But it was very exciting, and I learned an awful lot about entrepreneurship and innovation and technology through that startup. And it was very exciting. It was a digitalized product for the hospitality market, and it was ahead of its time. We were probably about 7 years ahead of our time in terms of software and technology.
Wow.
And we needed a lot of money from investors, and it wasn't really sexy enough. It was hardware as well as software. And at the time, people were into biotech, medtech, fintech, not really what we were doing, which required money to put into hardware to get a minimum viable product. So we needed really $500,000 just to get the minimum viable product going. And so there was we did the Web Summit in Lisbon. I mean, we had a great time. We actually went out to Dubai. We thought we had an investor out there or a partner, but that didn't really come to fruition either. And so money. And so there was a point where I said, look, I need to walk. I gave it as much time as I could, and so I did. And we parted ways amicably, myself and my business partner, and we've kind of done the odd thing afterwards, the odd project. But I really needed to get out on my own, stand on my own 2 feet, and do my own thing. So then I kind of got into lecturing, and
no surprise there. You had enough experience gained by then, yeah.
Well, UL asked me back, the people that I did the masters with, and they asked me back to do some work with them, and I ended up lecturing in the masters course online for them, the masters in project management. And then I did an innovation and entrepreneurship course with Tangent in Trinity. It's actually called Portal now, Tangent Portal, or it's changed its name anyway, but it's in Trinity in Dublin. And this is where I picked up all the design thinking, all of that great stuff around innovation and entrepreneurship. And then they asked me to help with them. And so I did a lot of their assignment work, rewriting their assignments across several courses, climate change diplomas, other ones for artists. It was really, really interesting. Health, innovation, all of that. So I kind of saw a real nice, broad, I suppose, bird's eye view of innovation in lots of different sectors. And that really interested me.
Do you think that the innovation part was somewhere formed in your own battle, I want to say, or in your own journey when you needed to reinvent yourself and keep going because you didn't have another choice?
Well, I think I kind of always was on that path, really. When I worked in the 90s for the multinational, they were always looking at what's new and the cutting edge of doing things more efficiently. They were really into total quality management, at the cutting edge then of what's new, how can we do things better and more efficiently. And then with the family business, with the cruisers, my brother was also into what's new. And we developed a whole guide to the Shannon from Killaloe right up to Lough Key and beyond, actually up to Enniskillen in the end. And you could, at the time in 1999, to be able to go online and click somewhere and the whole, information about that town, etc., would come up. We were, breaking things at that point. It was pretty amazing when I looked. We really were. And so I was always kind of,
a step ahead,
really interested in all of that. Yeah. And so even in Spain, when we were doing our website, we were doing, innovative stuff. So that always really interested me, in what's new. And so when I had the chance to go to that startup, to join that startup, well, that really excited me. I couldn't really say no, it was just too exciting. And then when I saw in Trinity, when I saw all of these entrepreneurs that were kind of like me, but starting out, I'd kind of come out the other end of the entrepreneur thing with my startup at that point. But especially the women who were really hungry for getting something exciting going. I thought these amazing women that are out there in Ireland and beyond, but mainly, it was directed to people who are here permanently in Ireland. They were amazing. So that kind of got me into women in entrepreneurship. And when I sort of started talking to Padraig McElway in local enterprise office, and he got me hooked into the Leo in Clare. Then I started doing a few speaking sessions, and one of them, of course, was the one that you went in on. And I've had a lovely time with Leo. They've given me a few really great opportunities. There was one they did a pilot project, in innovation. With small to medium enterprises, just consulting, sort of mentoring in terms of, how far we could bring them along in terms of digitalization, other things. And I've worked with some great, companies around Clare doing that as well. So that kind of brought me to a point then where I was eager to learn a little bit more, and I like project management, but it wasn't really ringing my bell. I'm more about the organization as a whole. And I wasn't ready to go into a big multinational because I had my kids at home. I knew if I went to a multinational, I'd sell my soul. I'd be there for, long hours. I'd earn good money, but was the payoff worth it? Not seeing my kids, getting somebody else to mind them. So I made the decision to stay at home, work from home.
Okay, so that was my question. How did you manage to be full mom and full, I guess you were the only bread maker in the house.
The breadwinner. I was. Look, there was a certain point where I was just surviving for so very long. My mum was elderly as well. So it wasn't like I could just ring her up and say, can you collect the kids? But luckily, I was in the village in Mount Shannon. You know, the kids were in walking distance of the bus for school or the primary school, the national school there. So there was that was great. But I guess I decided to work from home precisely because I knew I couldn't have it all at that time. I needed to be there for the kids, even if they thought, Mum, you're always on your computer, you're always working. Yes, but I'm at home. And when you need me, I'm there and I can drop everything and come. So they did see that I didn't sit down and watch telly in the evenings, unless it was something specific to do with them. But where they were doing their homework, I was working. Yeah, it was all work, and I wouldn't say a whole pile of play. There wasn't really much time for play. But I was also really into giving back as well. This, when I said earlier, the system worked for me. You know, obviously, when you're a lone parent with 4 kids, you get an allowance, and that helped me to survive. But I also felt I needed to give back. So I set up I was a founder member of a scout group. I joined the Mount Shannon Community Council. I volunteered in other things. And
so you had time for volunteering as well?
I did.
You made time.
I made time. Also, my kids were in scouts as well. So yeah. And with the community council stuff, I just felt that was really important. And I was just really lucky. I felt really lucky that I was able to go back and get educated or re-educate myself, and then almost reinvent myself again. And that is why I wrote last year, I wrote an article for Women Means Business. And it was all about, you know, where women are in the world's rankings in terms of education, in politics, etc. And we just fell out of the top 10 in terms of education and women in leadership in Ireland last year, and I'm hoping we're going to get back up there this year. But that really interested me in terms of, you know, where women are in Ireland in terms of leadership. And so I went back to education again, this time self-funded, yahoo. But thanks to SkillNet as well, they subsidized it too. But I felt great that I could pay for it also myself at this point. And I did a master's in professional practice. And my thesis was on women in leadership. And the women have a tendency to collaborate really well.
Yes.
And also if women work, you know, really hard to make sure that their followers or their team are okay, there is a tendency to fall into burnout. And so as women, we always feel we have to I feel, and from my research, we kind of overcompensate. And our socialization from when we were young, especially if we've had brothers, all feeds into imposter syndrome, never really being enough. And, you know, we need to do more. And it was incredibly interesting.
I remember from your speech in March last year that was for me first time hearing someone well-grounded in project management, as I sensed that you were, touching the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like incorporating the human being who does the business.
Yeah, and that really
was,
interested.
yeah.
Yeah, it really interested me in terms of, I think we've left the 20th century behind in terms of this transactional style of leadership with you know, or management. You know, you do something for me and I'll pay you for it. And here's the carrot. And if that doesn't work, here's the stick. There's a different style of leadership coming into play now. And I don't know if you've heard of Simon Sinek.
Yes, yeah.
He's
absolutely,
amazing,
yeah.
and whoever hasn't heard
I
of
only
Simon Sinek,
touched the surface before your speech, and then I dived in deeply, like afterwards, like,
yeah. Well, he talks about, you know, leadership isn't about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. And so as women, though, we tend to maybe go a little bit step too far, both in our expectations of ourselves and our expectations of others. So we need to be careful that we don't burn out, but also that our team around us don't burn out either. And so I did some research around that, and I kind of want to continue looking into that a little bit further in terms of women and the dangers of burnout. And
yeah, that's very interesting point of view, and it's very eye-opening. And it's also the change from a perspective of, I was nearly 10 years in corporate, and everything what I sensed, and even after I came in Ireland, I was in a private hospital, and I sensed that go, and kind of detach yourself from your family, your role as a mom and all that. And that was, as a single mother myself, I was a moment when I had to decide, or career or motherhood, because you couldn't do both, at least in Romania at the time.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to see the change in perspective.
So whether we like it or not, when women burned their bras in the 1970s, they wanted something else. We wanted to do more than wash the dishes and clean the floors at home. But we are also mothers, those of us who are mothers, or we are carers, or whatever. It's in our nature.
Exactly.
Most of the time. And I'm just talking generally here. I mean, I know some people probably don't resonate with this, but in general, people do. And women have, it's proven that we have so much to offer to the world. So why should it be a choice of either or? I know we need to bring up our children. There's that maternal side of us, and we can't neglect that. And we can't neglect the fact that we are parents to our children, and we need to nurture them and make sure they're not neglected. At the same time, though, we have all of this to offer to the world, and why not? Why can't we go out and offer this to the world? And that's partly why I went for election this year, and
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Give me the pleasure to introduce that a bit. So when I knew everything what I knew about you at the stage, and when I heard that, I said, oh my God, not better person than Fiona for doing that. And my conclusion was that you didn't fail. Absolutely not. I think you succeeded greatly. And I think you probably our county, because Fiona went for local elections, our county wasn't ready. That was, and I'm still standing for that position. We are getting there, thankfully, but we are not ready yet. And the change will happen when we are ready.
Exactly. And look, I teach leadership and change in UCD Professional Academy. So it's for professionals who are wanting to upskill. So I know all about how difficult it is to change, resistance to change and all that. So we happen to live in the same electoral area, and it has been, the councillors have been there, the same men, and no disrespect to them, but they're almost like clones of each other. They're made from the same mold almost. And they've been there for the last, there's one that's been there, this run, it'll be 30 years. And the other's minimum 20 years now. And the same five. I think they're calling themselves the famous five now. I'll call themselves the Fab Five or something else.
And let's say it's men.
Yes.
Okay, so all five men are men.
Yes,
okay.
all men.
Yeah.
So in our local electoral area, there's never been a female elected. There was one time where the area was sort of changed, and it took in a piece of almost Limerick, bordered with Limerick. And it really wasn't the East Clare that you and I know East Clare to be. And then the next cycle, they changed it back again, because obviously maybe it didn't work. And so I'm not really sure. I must see why they changed it back. But so if we're looking at our geographical area, there's never been a female elected from there.
Wow.
And that's partly why I ran, because I want to show really the young women that are out there that might get interested in politics, that it's possible to break down that wall. I nearly did it. If I'd had 56 first preference votes more, I would have got the transfers to get me the 4th seat, never mind the 5th seat. And so that's great because I was a first timer.
You got me excited to go to the vote.
Thank you.
I was always part of the local community when I was in Romania. So it took me a while to get into the local community here.
Yeah.
But definitely I kind of reignited that feeling of, okay, I can make my voice counted and counting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if that's the victory, I'll count that as a victory.
Yeah.
Really.
Totally.
If it got people more interested that, oh, okay, so there's a woman gunning for this now, and I'm nipping at their heels. We'll see what happens next time if I want to go next time. 5 years is a long time. A week is a long time in politics, never mind 5 years. But I feel because I feel that the system worked so well for me, and I know it didn't work so well for others, but for whatever reason, it worked. And I'm so grateful that I was given that chance to get back up on my feet again, to reinvent myself, to start again. And because I'd had a really good career, jet setting around Europe in the 90s, it was brilliant. And then, my fortunes changed, and our boat business, by the way, because of the crash, a lot of practically all the tour operators in Europe went bust, and so we depended a lot on that. And it's a very expensive business. It's a lifestyle business, not a profit-making business. And so they found it really tough to keep it going. So after my father passed away, they closed it. I wasn't involved at that stage, but they closed it down around 2014. So yeah, I just feel that it's really important for young women to see female role models now, and hopefully I am one. Or at least some people think of me as somebody that maybe they can say, okay, well, I have a chance to do the same thing, maybe paving the way for them. And I obviously represented a very young party, and it'll take some time to make it into there. Yeah.
So how did your kids see you going for election?
So it was mixed, really, if I'm to be perfectly honest. They were worried about me, and going into politics right now is quite difficult because of the toxicity that's out on social media, especially directed towards women. And so I guess that was their main concern. Also, because there was somebody else who was a councillor for quite a long time in the same parish. And my youngest who's a camogie hurling, GA, complete nutcase. She was worried that might be a bit. But look, I had spoken to him several months beforehand, and he was the first person I told that I would run, and he was fine with it. And in the end, he got in anyway. But they were a bit concerned for me, and I did get asked would I be interested in running for the general election, and I don't feel that the timing is right for my family right now. My youngest is doing her leaving. I feel I need to be there and be really focused. I'll be busy in my work, but it's a different kind of busy.
Yes.
And it'll be less emotional and stressful. Yeah. And so I want to build up the branch, the Clare branch, and I have some other really nice projects on the go, both in business and in the community.
Very nice.
I'm going to sit back for now. But they have told me that they'll have my blessing, or I'll have their blessing in 5 years' time.
Very good.
So whether 5 years' time happens or not, I don't know. So it is, I have to put family first. And if they're not completely on board with it, then I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you said that they were a little bit worried, and I kind of recognized that pattern at home myself with my own son, do you think is a special kind of bond when you are single mother with the children? Do you think that they are kind of more protective, that children who are coming from a background of both parents and the household is kind of whole?
Yeah, definitely. do see that there's definitely a protective piece there, and I will bounce things off them probably more than if I'd had, if their dad was in the house as my partner. So yeah, for sure, there's definitely a different relationship.
Yeah.
I think, especially with the eldest two, probably more. Probably no, with all of them, but the eldest probably feels like my protector, and definitely is. She's got such a wise head on her young shoulders, so I would probably seek her counsel as much as she'd seek mine. But we would definitely
different type of
different
totally.
Yeah, there's a different bond there. All right.
So what is your focus now on? What are you focusing on?
Okay. So I am working with several different consultancy companies at the moment, and I've been working for the past year on rolling out a big leadership program with a big multinational insurance company that I won't say the name, but everybody would recognize it if they heard it. And at the moment, we're rolling it all out online, but we are hoping to move it to face-to-face. It's going to be much more exciting, I think, face-to-face. So we're looking at maybe doing something in the Philippines and Egypt and other areas like that. So that's all ahead of me as well, to roll that out there. I'll be over, and back. I'll short periods of time, maybe a few days, and then back. And of course, not doing the general election because I didn't want to be away from my daughter. Now this happened. So, but it's just a different. It's partly the emotional strain as well is something that I want to just be wary of while she's.
Yes, and it's probably different exposure for her as well.
Yeah, I don't want her to be worried about that while she's doing her leaving. So we're happy with my route at the moment.
Yes, okay.
So I'm still teaching with UCD Professional Academy, doing leadership and change. Really enjoy that. I'll still be doing things with the local enterprise office, hopefully, and with other consultancy companies, and then with this one that I would be an associate partner with, rolling out these kind of leadership programs. I really enjoy it.
You are keeping yourself busy.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
I have a curiosity. What or where did you get your strength when everything went against you? So seeing your new actual self right now, when you are looking back at Fiona 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, what do you think that was what gave you?
I'm not sure.
Because you're a very positive person, I have to say. I saw a scenario during after the election when you turned, or just before, when you turned everything from a very negative, could have been very negative, you turned so positive in such a natural way.
Yeah, I think a lot of it stems, to family. I have very positive, my parents have always been very positive, especially my mother. She was always into service as well. She was so I was born in Cork and lived there till I was 9, and then we moved to Clare. And she was the first principal of a multi-denominational primary school there, and she was also a guider. So she was into the Irish Girl Guides, and she was a head trainer of Ireland. She was head brownie of Ireland, so with the little ones. And so she was always into service. But she would look at, the most negative thing and find the positive in it. She's now 89. She's going to be 90 next year. And she's the easiest octogenarian you could ever find. So positive, so content in herself. And my dad was the conscientious one. He was the worrier, so I definitely got some of that. And he was just so conscientious in making sure that the people who came to take, to go on holiday with us, he felt so responsible that they would have a good holiday. And I think I probably and their work ethic. Their work ethic was through the roof. I mean, work was their lives, and they worked together. They were partners in business. And I think I got a lot of of that from
Yeah,
them and how
definitely.
they worked so well together. I had a very happy childhood, I have to say. A very free childhood, which I know kids don't really have as much today. You know, my kids didn't see me from one end of the day to the next, and none of us really were bothered about that because we were all having a great time. So I think it probably stems from a stable background. And I know not everybody has that. So for that, I am grateful. So while, you know, in my early 40s, I lost literally everything. I think it was that stability.
Your mindset was there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And also, you know, I had gone through challenges already when I was actually au pairing in Italy for one family. I'd had a big accident. I got 3rd-degree burns. You know, I got caught fire, and I ended up getting, you know, quite a lot of skin grafting, and I was 18. And then I went back to stay with another family who I'd met, but they were Italian. The first family was partly Irish. And because I went back to sort of to face my demons in a way, you know, go back to where that had all happened, I felt that I definitely pushed myself out of my comfort zone, and I grew because
You were
of it.
very young, though.
I was very young, yeah. And then I suppose just different challenges that I could overcome. I was 25 running a market, you know, in Italy. Back then you didn't have mobile phones like we do today.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I suppose I threw myself at challenges when they came my way. And that, of course, helped to develop me. But I guess I'm lucky in that I'm a natural optimist. But I also have a great family, you know, behind me. I was just with my brother and sister-in-law the other day. My nephew got married, and you were just saying, you know, the 10 grandchildren none of them really have gone off the rails. They're all brilliant, really conscientious, strong work ethic, studied hard, did it on their own. And I think that's mainly due to my parents. So we have once you have a solid foundation, or you can create a solid foundation for yourself.
Totally, yeah.
Then that is really important. And it's just to have, Simon Sinek talks about that he's the eternal optimist. And I think if you can develop your mindset, grow your mindset to have that sense of optimism, that no matter what challenge comes your way, there's always a door that's open there somewhere. You just have to look for it. And so for that, I feel like I've always moved forward, even though there's been, you know, challenges. And tough times. And, you know, I would have loved the startup to have worked when I finished my master's in project management. I would be, you know, rolling in it right now, and it would have been fun, and you know, it would have been great, and I would have been able to set my kids up, you know, for their futures, and it didn't happen. But boy, did I learn so much out of it. So I don't regret that at all. And my path has gone in, you know, different directions to maybe where I envisaged it to go, but it's an exciting path, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. My own business journey taught me recently that there is no problem, it's an opportunity. Yeah. So every problem is an opportunity. Like in April, I thought, okay, I'm going to park it because I'm not able for it. And once I pushed through, and I realized that, okay, I didn't, it was like an overgrowth, like a leap of growth in like through a pain, what seemed to be a pain and a fear, and then on the other side was light. And but some of the business owners, they really struggle there on that line when it's very hard. And that, I think that's where some of businesses are failing, because the business owner doesn't have the capacity of pushing through.
That's right. There's a few different things. So my startup...
That's business, but life is the same.
Like, life's the same. Yeah. My startup didn't work out because we just realized that we were probably ahead of our time. Ireland didn't have the investors. didn't, we weren't getting the interest enough from the States. And I had to make a decision to walk away. And it wasn't because we actually hadn't really got it off the ground even at that point. And it didn't materialize after I'd left anyway. But there is a tipping point at which, when you're running a marathon and you reach the wall, and not that I've ever run a marathon long enough to reach that wall, but they say you run, when you run a marathon, you reach a wall. And if you can just keep going, you go through that wall, and then you're at the other side and you cross the line. So but there's also the practical element. I knew when to quit, even though I know I'm not a quitter. There's that balance between what are the reasons why I'm quitting. Mine was financial. It wasn't about work or the fear of work, or is it because of your own confidence or your own self-belief? You need to weigh those up. So there are some people some people need to quit. You need to call it quits. There are times when yes, but why are you quitting? You need to understand why you're quitting and be at peace with that. Or there are times where you just keep pushing through. And in my own life and in my own work, I'm pushing through. I've never done so well as when I'm working, for myself, rather than being somebody else's Robin.
Yes, yeah.
I'm now Batman or Batwoman. I was always the Robin.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, I was always the Robin to somebody else's Batman. And it never really got me to where I needed to be. In fact, it put me backwards. Yeah, I went 5 steps backwards instead of, a few steps forward. So once I decided to be my own Batwoman, then things started to really turn around for me. And so then I could make the choice and say, I'm keeping on going here. I'm not quitting. And it's worked. So yeah, for people out there who feel like, it's not, they haven't reached that tipping point. If you're able to keep on going, if finance, isn't the reason why you can't keep on going, look inside yourself, and are you putting in that time? Are you working smart and not too hard?
And are you working on the business, not
rather
in the business? Yeah.
And that's why coaches, counselors, mentors are so important. So people shouldn't be feeling on their own, and having an outside perspective, somebody to help you, coach you through, maybe help you to see things from a different angle. I had a coach for a while, and actually, she said to me, and it was all online. It was during COVID, and she said to me, "Okay, I want you to write down 3 things, no matter how out there they are. Where would you like to see yourself in 5 to 10 years?" And I said, I would love to go back and work with Europe, because I lived in Italy, I lived in Spain. I feel like I'm a Europhile. I feel very strongly that Ireland is doing really well because we're part of Europe.
Okay.
And I really wanted to be an MEP, a member of the European Parliament, for years now. I've dreamt about it for a long, long time. And so that was one of my goals. And I told her a few months ago, I've actually been selected to be the number 2 substitute for our candidate for MEP. And so for me, that was a big deal.
Big. Yeah,
it was
exactly.
A big
It was
deal.
a personal. I can imagine.
So when you set yourself these crazy goals, and you think, yeah, whatever, it's not going to happen. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
And you can, move yourself at least towards that. Even if you never reach it, at least you've got something that you're working towards. Yeah.
I totally relate to that. I couldn't make any plans. I couldn't see myself in any future. I think I was so in the moment and so stuck in fight and flight and all the struggle of being single mom, moving countries and all that. And when I remember having a business chat with someone, and I was like, where do you see yourself? I felt insulted. Like, can you, like, I'm very honest. Like, I felt like, how is she there to ask me when I'm struggling for my next day?
Yeah.
And I was just kind of contemplating starting my own business back then. But, oh my God, such a difference in 3 years. Like, I mean, it's amazing how the view changed when Wayne Dwyer says, when you change the perspective, the way, the things what you're looking at, they change. Like,
exactly. And that's all. I mean, growth mindset is all part of that. And to see, as you said before, about seeing a problem as an opportunity, you know, threats, challenges, see them as an opportunity rather than, you know, something that's going to be negative in your life. Turn it into a positive. And I think when you asked me that question, how do I, you know, keep going or whatever, that's really that I learned that I guess naturally from my mum, to turn everything negative into a positive. I used to say to myself, okay, I'm going to turn every single negative thought into 2 positive, or I'm going to replace them by 2 positive ones. So that takes quite a lot of self-discipline to do that, but I think that really did work in terms of helping me to keep going. And we've got to remember that, you know, we have to press the pause button sometimes, not beat ourselves up. You know, if the house isn't perfect, then, you know, whatever. You've got kids, you've got a business, or you're working, or you're studying. You know, you can't be everything. I think we have to remember that if we're in a certain position, maybe coming from a challenging place, then we can't have it all, but we can have bits of everything. It doesn't all have to be perfect. And
it takes a lot for a woman to let that go. Yeah, it takes so much because I think that perfectionist and the idea of you need to do everything, be everything to everyone type of, once you let that go, you are giving to you so much.
And then when you give it to you, that's why the theme song to Frozen, or that particular song in Frozen, Let It Go, is so important. It speaks to women. And once you let it go, then suddenly everything comes to you. I think we need to stop beating ourselves up so much and you know, just go at the pace we're able to go at. And there are some days where I say, my body is telling me to take a break. And I learned a massive lesson just before the election. I was going. I was also working. So I would be up at 5 a.m. In one particular week, I was up at 5 a.m. 2 days. No, I was up at 4 to teach at 5 a.m. People in Singapore.
And I'm a morning person and I still rolled my eyes.
So that week, or that window of 2 weeks, I had ridiculously done an all-nighter to clear my desk. So I was up with the birds from working the whole day beforehand. I hadn't gone to bed. And then the next week I had gone out putting posters up, election posters, till 4 a.m. in the morning. And then that week I did 2 4 a.m. starts teaching Singapore. And then the following 2 weeks, it was raining every single day. And I was out every single day knocking on doors. And
yes, let
I
me
ended
stop
up
you
getting
there.
sick.
Oh,
yeah, mild dose of pneumonia.
Oh,
so look after. We need to look after our bodies.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get back to that, but I have a curiosity. When I saw you knocking at the doors, I was at home. I was delighted to see Fiona, but I could see myself knocking at the doors. And when I need to step into the selling person of my business, the selling role, salesperson. And it's not a comfortable a comfortable role, at
No.
least not for me. Some people are naturally, even though I had a career in sales for a few years, it was easier to sell someone else's product than my own.
Yeah.
Did you ever sense that fear of rejection, or did you attach your own value to that, and how did you deal with?
Okay. I think that I am naturally a people pleaser. I've discovered along the line that I probably get more of a kick out of for myself by pleasing others. And I'm not sure how healthy that is. And so I've sort of turned that around. And so if you're rejected, you almost feel like you're not pleasing somebody. And so I didn't like that sense of rejection, and I suppose that fear of rejection maybe stopped me going down other roads as well several years ago. But I think challenges in life help you overcome that too. And I guess I have drawn this iron curtain around myself. I have definitely toughened up. And so I just decided to, again, it's mindset. Instead of worrying.
A choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. Yeah. Instead of worrying about being rejected, just enjoy the ride. And I have to say, I can count on my one hand I can't even count on my one hand the negative experiences I had, because every single experience was a learning opportunity. And that's I was lucky enough to learn all that before I started doing this, that, all of this, any of these challenges, threats are opportunities. And so I called them my learning curves.
So it's again the way how you look at things.
It's how you look at things. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Kamala Harris now, running for president, and how the awful things that have been said about her, you can tell that she's just letting it roll right off her back. And so as women, we do have that fear of rejection that's a little bit more, I suppose.
Prominent?
Yeah. Definitely more intense than men have. Men don't care really about, on next. And whereas we take it a little bit more personally. So I do think we need to develop that tough interior, not necessarily a tough exterior, but a tough interior that lets that roll off the back. And I used to say, let it roll, let it go. In Camogie, my daughter, she loves it, but she's had concussion. She's now got something up with her back, and she's always coming home with, bruises and bumps. And I know a lot of people relate to that. But, she was taught from a young age, shake it off. And that's what I do. And I think of Taylor Swift's song, shake it off. And these are all messages to us all. Just shake it off. And rejection, really, who cares? That person who's rejecting you won't be thinking about it in 10 minutes' time. You will be, but shake it off, and then you won't. And that's how I learned to really enjoy knocking on those doors, even doors that I kind of went, oh, I know what this is going to be like. And what's really funny is that the doors that I kind of went, they're going to reject me out of mind. I know that this is I'm on what they call a hiding to nothing, knocking on this door. They ended up being the most interesting ones and the memorable ones, and having the most interesting chats. So feel the fear and do it anyway. I have a story that I tell my students of Sarah Blakely. She's the founder of Spanx. She's one of my heroes, by the way. So if you don't know Sarah Blakely's story, anybody who's listening, go and find it. So she trudged around the USA trying to sell this, amazing lingerie that she decided that she needed. But she had this innate fear of flying. She was scared stiff of flying. And so she joined a group that, of like-minded people who were afraid of flying. She never got to those classes because she was always up in the air flying. So her whole thing is feel the fear and do it anyway. And so this fear of rejection, feel it, do it anyway. Nobody's going to kill you.
Yes, exactly. Usually it's the fear of fear.
It's the fear of fear. Yeah. And if we can develop this And partly people who, we all have a mixture, I think, of a fixed and growth mindset, especially until we realize what a growth mindset is, about taking on threats and challenges as an opportunity, an opportunity to grow and develop. People with a fixed mindset kind of feel that, well, I'm not going to be good enough at that, so why bother trying? And so people who maybe fear taking that step to go out there to maybe start that new business, or maybe knock on doors and try and get those new sales, look up Carol Dweck, that's Dweck, her book Mindset, or go on YouTube and you'll see videos about growth and
we are
fixed
going
mindset.
to put all these resources
Fantastic.
on
Okay, brilliant. Because she is amazing at explaining, the difference between a fixed and growth mindset. And you can develop a growth mindset, even though you might naturally veer towards a fixed mindset and think, no, I can't do that, or no, I'm not good enough, or no, I don't have the experience, or no, there's so many other people better than that out there than me.
It's so important, this message, that we can develop this mindset.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't go to university when I did my leaving at 16 because I didn't think I was clever enough. I really didn't. My eldest brother, he's a professor now in Galway University. He was, flying through school. I said, no, he was in university at the time, actually, when I left school. And I said, no, I'm not as clever as he is. And so I was stuck in a fixed mindset for years and years, until I realized I could actually pick up a language pretty quickly when I was thrown in the middle of it.
Yes.
I could actually live in Milan on my own and set up a whole office there and manage the whole market you can if you just throw yourself in.
If you give yourself the opportunity to see,
It's allowing yourself to have the opportunity to step over that line of fear. It's like stepping into lava, but if you just, go, well, the lava isn't really there. It's all in my imagination anyway. And it's having that positivity. And I can't say that I always walk around with a positive growth mindset. I don't. We all
and
have
that's
our
fine.
things.
That's important to recognize that.
We're human.
Yeah,
we're human.
Exactly.
And things happen and things don't go according to plan. So that's where resilience comes in. And resilience is where, when things go wrong, it's having that bounce back ability, or telling yourself, I'm going to bounce back from this. I'm bouncing back, and pushing on through. And every setback, say, okay, what am I learning from this? And then move forward. So my setback this year was probably not getting elected, when lots of people said, no, you're going to get in, you're going to fly it. So no, I didn't get in. But boy, have I learned, I have actually got my confidence level in certain areas of my life has improved, has increased because of that journey that I've had. And so for me, it was all worth it.
I'm sure that you learned so much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even about the local community and the politics. I remember you saying that like you didn't know what really politics mean.
Oh, I was a rookie. I was a complete rookie. I mean, I joined the Social Democrats back in 2019, and I've always been interested in politics. But as for doing it myself, no, me and my campaign manager was like the blind leading the blind. And for that reason, we did so well. We got so very close. And so I'm delighted.
Like, sometimes, as for me was when I came in this country, I didn't know anything about Ireland. Honestly, I did not know anything. Before I came, when I bought my ticket, I checked Clonmel and I saw the river, and I knew I'm coming to a place where I have a river. Yeah. And for me, it was very important because I had a river in my city, and I said I have a place where to run, like keep my sanity.
Yeah.
And I said always that moment was ignorance was a bliss in that particular. And sometimes the less you know, the less fears you have.
Yeah. Yeah, often. Yeah. Just throw yourself in. If you have a passion about something, or you have an inkling of a passion about something, and you have the opportunity to pursue it, what's holding you back? What really is holding us back?
And all these examples are like, let's look at them like it's possible.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I've done quite a lot with very little resources. I just had myself to count on. And I've built myself back up again. And now I'm very comfortable in what I have. I'm very happy. in my own, development path. But, lots of people say, okay, I don't have the money, I don't have the support, I don't have whatever. Well, then, take a step back and start from a lower bar if you have to. It may take yourself longer to get where you want to be, but at least you're not stuck.
Yes.
Don't stay stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Probably
the big
that's
message.
the most dangerous. Yeah.
Don't stay stuck. Because, none of us want to have regret. As long as you felt, when you get to a certain point in your life and you look back and say, I kept moving forward. That's the main thing. And who are you role modeling for? It's the generation that's coming up after us.
I think that's such a great motivator, and we are blessed that we are able to sense that motivation.
Yeah.
Because not everyone is, and I am feeling compassionate towards people who are not having that. But I think once you sense that motivation, you can't really unsense it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think the world that we are in today is different to the world we grew up in.
Massively.
And it's a much more brittle world, anxious world. It's more complex.
Because the speed is different, I think.
Yeah.
And everything is happening so fast.
Exactly.
And we are exposed to so much information. And
Yeah. So I think, the younger millennials and the Gen Zers out there, I look at them and they're amazing. They're fantastic. But they also have different challenges. And they
have totally different challenges than us.
We did
have, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so we need to role model to them that they can do it. And even if my kids are looking at me and say, "Oof, Mum, that was a long, hard road that you went down," but it was a road that I chose, and I wanted to be there around them. And then other people choose different things. It's whatever works for you. But at the top of my mind is role modeling for my kids, and am I doing the right thing for that generation? Am I showing that generation that no matter what happens to you, if you've got that resilience, that bounce back ability, then you can keep going. And I see people who may give up, or who sort of feel so overwhelmed and almost drowning in the whole stress of it all, the exhaustion of it all. And I would say to them, just be kind to yourself and take the break you need to take if you have to take it. Or don't go at the pace that you feel that you should be going at. If you have to go slower, go slower.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, this hustle culture that was around just pre-COVID and during COVID, there's a lot of people out there that are talking about the hustle, and don't go to the family events, because you got to work. No, I disagree with that. You'll get there eventually, but at what cost? If you, you've got to weigh up the cost. And as women, that cost is even higher because we are the nurturers, whether we, want to be or it's innate in our nature. It's how we're developed. And just consider the price of, especially for people who are alone with their children. If you're their only manager, then you have to lead properly.
How is Fiona taking care of herself?
Okay.
Back to the moment when you were sick.
Yeah. So I was not probably taking care of myself as well as I should have been. But it was all very intense, those last few weeks, month leading up to the election. And whereas I had been campaigning since pretty much October last year. So that's, October, and the election was in June.
8
so
months,
that was a long
nearly,
time.
Yeah.
Whereas the guys who were already in there started campaigning maybe 4 weeks out. So I ended up, rookie as I was, 4 weeks out, pretty exhausted at that point. And they were fresh as daisies. So I'll know better next time.
So you ran a marathon until the end, really?
Yeah, I did. It was a marathon. Or maybe it should have been a sprint in the end. And we were saying it's a marathon, not a sprint. But maybe, I'll see. I'll recalibrate it for the next time. Yeah, so look, I do take time out for myself. We got a dog over COVID. I succumbed to the pressure, and she's great for getting me out in the mornings. I do yoga. I take the break where I have to. I'm smack bang in the middle of menopause, so if I feel I need to down tools during the day and take a half an hour, sleep it off, I will. And then I'm fresher afterwards. Yeah. And I'm often teaching at night till 9:30 anyway, and finishing it off till 10. So I do work late, and you can find me still at my desk at midnight, and if I'm on a roll, I'll be there at 2 a.m. if I have to be.
How do you manage that?
But I will balance it out. And when my body's telling me down tools, I'll down tools. So it's all about having a balance. Yes, have your work ethic. Yes, make sure you're looking after your family and you've got that balance as right as you possibly can. And none of us really have it perfectly right. And so don't beat yourself up about that either. But looking after yourself, I don't know who's heard of Stephen Covey's famous book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So the seventh habit is probably the most important, and that's sharpen the saw. And so if we can look after ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially, which is huge, and also spiritually, which is all about knowing what your own values are really, then, trying to have that balance. And I do try to do that. And I think relationships are a massive part in our well-being, whether you're at work or you're starting your own business or you're thinking about it, building relationships. So that's why those Women in Business networking events are amazing. Go along to any of those you can. There's Network Ireland. There's other events. There's another network starting out in Clare. I'm actually just become a Grow Remote leader. So for those who are working remotely, we're going to have events in Clare, every so often to get people to meet each other who, people who are working on their own at home all the time.
Yeah, that's a challenge, I have to say. And you are not really aware of it when you start.
You're not. No, but that social element of your well-being, don't leave that behind. Yeah, make sure that you get out, you meet people, you keep up with your friends, your lifelong friends, your new friends, whoever they are. That is as important as, looking after your mental health.
Exactly.
I think feeds into that.
It's part of the mental health.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Especially, for people who have a family, who have responsibilities, whether your responsibility is looking after a relative or you have your own children or, you've got other responsibilities in your life, then all of that, looking after yourself emotionally and socially and physically, mentally, and the values part of it as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all this insightful conversation. And before I let you go, I want you to shoot me with a question.
Yeah, so I have a question ready, and I had to write it down so I wouldn't forget it on my phone. So, what has been the most inspiring or even surprising and impactful lesson that you learned through your conversations in this podcast? Not this one with me, but in the podcasts that you have with other people.
Were many. A very interesting question. I think the most surprising one, and you will like that, is the role of community. Because I'm a big believer in when you step back, even if you are in a state of stress and you don't see any solutions, that's very home for me. A place where you can get stuck and you don't see more than what is in front of you and tunnel vision. When you step back, you see other possibilities. And there was a practitioner with me, and he put that into perspective. Do you know that's actually where the possibilities are coming from is the community?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow. I actually didn't see that, but that's exactly. It doesn't matter if it's a community of 2 or a community of 3. It always put things in a different perspective.
Yeah, that resonates with my bit on the social.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's for your, to boost your morale or to give you the energy to keep going, having that community. And I think where we live in East Claire. There is a real sense of community there in terms of the wider community as well. And I actually get a lot of energy off that too, as much as I get in having a community of
And you know that when I spoke with you last time, I said I felt that call. I heard that call. I don't know exactly where it's going to, I'm going to land with that, but I'm sure that I'm going to be part of some sort of project in love. I believe exactly like you that giving back. Because, oh my God, since I came in Ireland, I got so much from, when I was in Clonmel, I got so much from the local community. When I'm here, like I'm supported. I'm like, definitely, the community is always, I think it's the belief. I saw my own family and my own grandmother, and they were all part of the groups. And yeah,
it's really important. And post-COVID, we have to make sure that we're not isolated, or we haven't, we need to look and see, have we isolated ourselves? Are we still isolated? And we just need to get back out into that community again. And I kind of see, it was quite slow to get off the ground, but now I see that it's, it's getting so much better. Yeah. And our community is changing, we have in a town near where I live, we have a direct provision centre for refugees and asylum seekers, and they have absolutely enriched the community in more ways than I could imagine. And people have welcomed them with open arms. And on my way here to this podcast, I was listening to about the riots in Belfast, the riots in the UK. We've had our own, troubles here, riots and marches. And I think we, that saddens me. Whether we like it or not, the way the world is going to look in 30, 40 years' time is very different to how it looks today. And, we can all resist change, but we've often been part of the reason why they're seeking asylum in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
And so for me, the community is changing, but I can't see a negative in it. I think they're amazing people, and they've thrown themselves into the community and done amazing projects. They're always, cleaning the place up. And
I think it's the resistance to change.
It's the resistance to change.
Yeah, and it's the fear.
But it's understanding that fear too. Being very negative towards that fear. Also, when I teach change, and I teach all about resistance to change. And I think we are not meeting people where they're at with their fear.
Totally.
And we need to get these communities together.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I want to be in politics, is because I understand where the people who are fearful are coming from. But if they just sat down with some of these people and seen how amazingly beautiful they are and what they have to offer our community, gets me all emotional.
I think, yes, exactly. And I feel that, and I resonate with that. So if you want to bring Fiona back, subscribe, like, and if you have, we are going to hear you out, and we'll bring Fiona back to talk about change. And because I think we have to understand that resistance, and we have to hear that fear out.
And look, we're not talking about flinging the doors open, and I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about meeting people where they're at in terms of who we have here now, and reducing that sense of fear and helping people who are genuine, who need the help. The same in my work, and I know I'm going to repeat myself. I said that before. I had my first client who I was very excited to ask for a testimonial. And when I read the testimonial, I was like, oh, really? This was what that person saw in me. He was like, if you are not ready for change, Esmeralda is preparing you for it. Wow,
I was like,
that's amazing.
Oh, wow. Like, I never felt that way. Like, I never saw myself doing that. But so I will be the first very interested person to have a conversation about that.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. I'd love to come back and talk about that. Brilliant.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Thank you so much for everything what you gift our world with, because you definitely make our world a better place.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much. This has
Thank
been
you so
great.
much.
Thank you.